To the deep dive. We're doing something a little different today.
Yeah.
Usually when we crack open a legal journal, we're looking backwards, right? At precedents, old cases, things that have already happened.
Sure, that's the whole point of precedent.
But we have the winter 2026 edition of USL Law Magazine here, and I have to say, this doesn't feel like a review at all. It feels like a forecast.
It really does. I was thinking the same thing. If you just look at the table of contents here, it's like a dispatch from a very near and very, very complex future.
Right.
They call it the new frontier, but honestly, it feels more like we've gone completely off-road.
That is the perfect way to put it. I mean, we are not talking about simple contract law here.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like, teenage cyber gangs holding massive companies for ransom, nuclear reactors popping up on 40-acre plots to power AI.
And robots literally taking the witness stand, in a way.
It's wild. And if you kind of zoom out, there's a thread connecting all of it.
What do you think that is?
It's this friction
Yeah.
between how fast technology is moving and the slow, messy reality of liability. We're trying to figure out who's to blame when the future breaks.
Yeah, and the magazine uses this metaphor throughout. Shark-infested waters.
They do. And as we go through it, it's clear they mean that in both a digital and a very physical sense. So our mission today is to, I guess, map out where those sharks are swimming.
And maybe how to keep your limbs attached.
Exactly. Let's start with the digital sharks. There's a breakdown here by Richard R. Marsh on cyber threats, and it completely dismantled my mental image of a hacker.
Okay, what was your image, the guy in the hoodie?
Oh, 100%. The guy in the dark basement,
Right.
surrounded like empty energy drink cans, silently taping green code onto a black screen.
The movie version.
Totally the movie version.
But Marsh introduces us to the reality of 2026, specifically a group they call Scattered Spider.
Okay.
And they're terrifying because they don't fit that profile at all. These are Western-based, English-speaking, often young adults.
Right.
And their primary weapon isn't some complex bit of code. It's social engineering.
This is the part that really unnerved me. They aren't breaking through the firewall. They're talking their way through the front door. The article details this tactic called vishing.
Right, voice phishing.
Yeah, but it's not the old scam calls we're used to. They're using AI voice cloning. So picture this. You're an employee, it's a Tuesday afternoon, and your phone rings. It's the IT help desk. It sounds exactly like Dave from the IT help desk. He has the lingo, he knows the local accent.
That cultural fluency is the key part. Because they're Western-based, they know how to navigate a corporate environment. They know how to sound urgent, but, professional.
So when Dave asks for your credentials to run a quick security update, your guard is just down.
Completely. And if that polite approach doesn't work, then they switch to, well, brute force annoyance. Marsh calls it push bombing.
This is a weaponization of fatigue, isn't it?
It is. We all use multi-factor authentication, right? You log in, your phone buzzes, you hit approve. It's just muscle memory.
So Scattered Spider just exploits that reflex.
Exactly. They just trigger those MFA requests over and over and over. Imagine it's 2 a.m, your phone buzzes, then again, then again. You're groggy, you're annoyed, and you just want it to stop so you can sleep. So you grab your phone and you just hit approve.
Boom, you've opened the door.
You have.
Yeah.
And that leads to maybe the most critical concept in the whole article, something called living off the land.
I highlighted this phrase. It sounds so pastoral, like they're foraging for berries or something. I'm guessing it's a little darker than that.
Much, much darker. See, in the old days, a hacker installed malware, a bad file. Antivirus software scans for those bad files.
Oh, yeah.
Living off the land means the hackers don't install anything. Once they're inside your network, they just use the company's own legitimate admin tools to do their dirty work.
So the security software, it doesn't look like a virus. It just looks like an IT administrator doing regular work.
Precisely. They are using your own keys to rob your house. And Marsh's whole point is that we have to stop just building higher walls, that perimeter defense. You have to monitor what's happening inside the network.
You have to start asking, why is Dave from IT accessing payroll at 3 a.m?
That is the question,
Yeah.
the fundamental shift. Okay, so speaking of sharks, the magazine pivots from, the fiber optics to the actual asphalt.
The sharks on the highway.
Yes.
This article by Elizabeth Judy, it was really eye-opening. She describes the scene of a commercial trucking accident. There's chaos, police, debris, And then the sharks start to circle.
And she's talking about predatory towing companies. She actually quotes a state trooper who literally uses that sharks in the water metaphor.
Because they're just waiting for the crash. But what really blew my mind were the numbers. The American Transportation Research Institute did a study on this. We're not talking about a $500 tow.
No, we are talking about invoices that go from a couple $100 all the way up to $110,000.
$110,000 for a tow. How is that even possible?
The real scam isn't the tow itself, it's the storage. These operators swoop in, hook up the truck, and tow it to their private lot. Then they slap a lien on the vehicle.
A lien, so a legal claim.
Yeah, it's basically a legal claim that says, we hold this property until you pay us. And while the insurance adjusters are scrambling to figure out what's going on, the towing company is charging these massive daily storage fees. They're holding the truck hostage.
So the meter is just running thousands of dollars a day while the truck is basically in jail. So if you're a fleet manager, what do you even do? Just pay the ransom.
Judy brings up a specific legal tool. It's called a replev in action.
I saw that. It sounds like something out of the 1800s.
It's old, but it is powerful. A replev in action is essentially an emergency court order. You go to a judge and say, they're holding my property wrongfully.
Okay.
And if the judge agrees, the sheriff goes out and forces them to release the truck immediately. You can fight about the bill later, but you stop the bleeding on those storage fees.
So it's a give it back now, argue later kind of card.
Exactly. But her biggest piece of advice is preventative. And it's actually really similar to the cyber advice.
Don't panic.
Do not panic. In a cyber attack, don't just click approve because you're tired.
And at the crash, don't just sign a consent form because some guy is shouting at you to clear the road.
Panic is the predator's best friend in both cases.
Okay, let's pivot. We've done risks on the web and on the road. Let's talk about something that feels a bit more hopeful, but legally, it's an absolute minefield, AI in healthcare.
This article by John Floyd Jr. and his team, it's probably the future is now piece in the whole issue.
It has to be. They start with this comparison that just stopped me in my tracks, the Harvard experiment.
Yeah. So they took a really complex medical case. They gave it to a human expert diagnostician, a top-tier doctor. It took that human 6 weeks to analyze all the data and confirm the diagnosis.
6 weeks, which is a long time when you're sick.
A very long time. Then they gave the same case file to an AI model called Cabot. Cabot reached the same correct diagnosis in 6 minutes.
6 weeks versus 6 minutes. I mean, that's not just an upgrade. That's a different world.
It is. And it's not just about speed. They talk about the NVIDIA Super PUD at the Mayo Clinic. It was trained on thousands of medical scans. They found that for pancreatic cancer, which is so deadly because it's so hard to catch early, the AI could detect it, on average, 438 days earlier than humans can.
Whoa, wait. 438 days. Over a year earlier.
Over a year. That's the difference between, between a death sentence and a survival plan. The stats are just stark. The human success rate for early detection is about 50%.
Okay.
Coin flip.
And the AI?
97%.
Okay, so as a patient, I'm thinking, great, give me the robot doctor, but this is a legal deep dive. Where's the trap?
The trap is in a concept called the standard of care.
Right, which is what a doctor is legally required to do.
Exactly. Traditionally, a doctor just has to do what a reasonable doctor would do. They rely on their training, their experience, their gut. But here's the question. If the AI is statistically, provably better than the human, does relying on your gut suddenly become negligence?
Oh, wow. So if a doctor says, I don't need the AI, I've been doing this for 20 years, and they miss the cancer that the super POD would have caught.
He could be sued. Not for using the new technology and having it fail, but for not using the technology.
That flips the entire script. We always worry about AI making mistakes, but the real legal risk might be that the AI is too perfect and it makes human error look inexcusable.
We're getting to a point where the human touch might be seen as a liability. And that theme of predictive tech, it's not just in hospitals, it's showing up in retail.
Right. That article by Gattuso and Ulyss, they talk about moving from reactive to proactive, which, to be honest, usually sounds like corporate buzzword soup to me.
It does, but here they mean it literally. They're talking about premises liability, slip and fall.
Classic wet floor lawsuit.
The classic. But instead of a security camera just recording the spill after someone falls, they're using computer vision to predict the fall.
How can it predict a fall?
Well, it analyzes the environment. So, for example, the AI sees that it's raining outside. It knows the pool deck gets slippery when it's wet, so it flags the risk. and tells staff to put down mats before anyone can slip.
Okay.
Or they had that great example of the Christmas display.
The grandma got run over by a reindeer prevention system.
Right. Analyzing the layout of a holiday display for trip hazards before you even build it.
Which sounds amazing for safety. But again, knowing lawyers, they called it the double-edged sword. There's a catch.
And this is the part that should make any business owner nervous. If you install this system and it sends you an alert, hey, aisle 4 is dangerous,
Right.
and your staff is busy and they just ignore it,
Or then someone falls in aisle 4.
you have just handed the plaintiff's lawyer the perfect piece of evidence. You can't say we didn't know. The lawyer will pull the computer log and say, your own system told you at 10 a.m. and you did nothing.
It creates a time-stamped record of your own negligence.
That's it, exactly. If you buy the crystal ball, you have to look at it.
And speaking of things we can't ignore, power. Because all this AI, the super PODs, the computer vision, they are serious energy hogs.
Massive energy hogs. The article by J. Cliff McKinney points out that power demand just for AI could increase 30-fold by 2035.
30-fold. Our grid can barely handle a hot summer day now. It can't handle that.
It can't. So the solution that's being proposed is, well, it's nuclear.
But not the giant cooling towers we're used to seeing.
No. SMRs, small modular reactors.
Small and nuclear reactor are two phrases that don't feel like they should go together.
It's a fascinating shift. A traditional nuclear plant needs about 640 acres. These SMRs need less than 40.
Wow.
The whole vision is something called distributed generation. So imagine a huge Amazon data center, and right next to it, on the same property, is its own personal nuclear reactor.
That makes a ton of sense for efficiency, but I feel like my homeowners association might have some notes on a reactor down the street.
And that is the massive hurdle. McKinney calls it a real estate nightmare. He points out that our current zoning codes, they just don't have a category for a nuclear reactor next door.
Sorry, you can't build a shed over 8 feet tall, but the uranium core is fine.
Exactly. It's another case of the technology just completely outpacing the law.
So we have the tech, the power, the risks. But eventually, a lot of this ends up in a courtroom in front of a jury. And there's this really insightful piece by Juliana Manrique and Jessica Kansky about the logo.
Right, the logo being the corporation that's on trial.
Yeah, and the deep-seated bias that jurors have against it.
The psychology here is so important. We think trials are about facts. But they found that 57% of jurors expect a corporate witness to have mastery of all the facts.
That's an impossible standard.
It is. But the scarier stat, I think, is about memory. They found that 25% of jurors, a quarter of them, believe that if a witness says, I don't recall, they are lying.
I say I don't recall about what I had for breakfast yesterday.
Right. But in court, coming from a corporate witness, it's seen as deception. They suggest saying, I don't remember, is a little better, but the skepticism runs deep.
And they mention body language, too.
Yes. Fidgeting, lack of eye contact. In a normal person, we'd call that being nervous. In a corporate witness, jurors interpret it as guilt.
So the strategy is what? You send them to acting classes.
Essentially, yes. They call it humanizing the logo. You have to train the witness to break through that corporate armor and just connect as a person.
It's just so ironic, isn't it? We have AI diagnosing cancer and robots monitoring floors, but the final decision still comes down to whether a jury likes the guy in the chair.
It always does.
But sometimes the regulations do catch up. We have to touch on the EU AI Act. This article by Jan Tibor-Lely, this feels like the heavy hand of the law finally dropping.
It is. And if you're a U.S. company thinking, well, I don't care about Europe,
Yeah.
you really need to listen up.
Because it applies to anyone doing business over there.
Correct. And the teeth on this law are sharp. We're talking fines up to 35 million euros, or 7% of your global turnover.
7% of global turnover? That's not a parking ticket. That's a company-ending fine.
It's massive. And what's fascinating is how it specifically targets HR.
HR. Why HR?
Because using AI for hiring, like those bots that screen resumes, is classified as high risk. You can't just let the black box pick your employees anymore.
So you can't just blame the algorithm if you discriminate.
Nope. You have to provide AI literacy training to your staff. You have to consult with employee works councils. You have to prove you understand the tool you're using. You can't just set it and forget it.
It seems like the days of the computer did it are officially coming to an end.
They really are.
Which brings us to our last topic, and honestly, the coolest visual in the whole magazine. We've done AI, nuclear power, hackers now. robots in the courtroom.
Actual robots. This is from an article by Meredith Bartholomew.
Okay, so we've all seen those cheesy animations in court, right? A cartoon car hits a cartoon bike. Looks like a video game from 1995.
Right, the artist renditions. This is different. This is science. Bartholomew explains how they're using driving robots installed in real cars to replicate a crash path with mathematical precision.
So if the question is, could the driver have seen the bike, they don't just have a guy drive past and guess.
No, because a human driver is different every time. They might blink or steer a little differently. They program the robot to drive the exact path at the exact speed with the exact steering input over and over.
And they can do the really dangerous stuff, right?
That's the key. They can test a tractor-trailer rollover. Can't put a human driver in a truck and say, okay, flip it over, let's see what happens.
That would be suicide.
But the robot doesn't care. So you get this perfect physical data. And then, and this is the kicker, they use that data to create the court animation.
Ah, okay.
So when the jury sees the video, they aren't seeing a cartoon. They are seeing a data visualization of the actual physics.
It really feels like we're moving from a world of speculation, I think you saw me, to a world of hard data.
And that's the synthesis of this whole magazine, isn't it? We're moving from reactive law, cleaning up the mess after it happens, to predictive technology.
Right, whether it's the AI diagnosing cancer before it spreads, or the camera predicting the slip and fall.
Or the robot proving the physics of the crash. It's a massive shift.
It is, but I want to circle back to that standard of care idea for a second, because that's the thing that's really going to stick with me from this.
It's the most philosophical point in the whole issue, I think.
In 2026, we're learning to trust these machines, maybe more than we trust ourselves. We have the super POD, the driving robots, all of it.
Right.
The provocation I want to leave everyone with is this. We're used to suing when a machine breaks, right? If the brakes fail, you sue. If the software glitches, you sue. But we are very, very quickly approaching a time where if a human makes a decision without consulting an AI, that in itself will be the definition of recklessness.
That is a profound thought. We might be reaching the point where the human touch isn't a value add anymore.
It's a liability.
It's a liability.
On that cheery note, seriously though, there is so much to unpack here in this new frontier. It's exciting, it's a little scary, and it is definitely not boring.
Not boring at all.
Yeah.
Stay curious out there.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.